Great. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second day of the Open Days. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat function on YouTube, or you can also ask us questions on Slido, and we will answer them throughout this conversation, this talk. So my name is Emma, and I am the Undergraduate Admissions and Outreach Officer here at St Hildas College, and with me today I have the Tutor for Admissions, Dr. Sarah Norman. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Emma.
So in yesterday's live stream, we covered various different topics such as applications, the interview process that's going to happen this year, financial support and accommodation. So today we're going to look at some different topics such as welfare, diversity, some practical information about living in college and also study support. So Sarah, I thought I'd just kick us off with some questions about support and welfare. So what sort of support systems are available at St Hildas?
I think the support comes in many different types of people and forms. So if we think about the sort of the requirement of the students, they need to study. And of course, we have the tutorial system supports the study that the students wish to undertake their degree. So we have tutors in place who organise and deliver that teaching in small groups during the tutorials. Some of those tutors are also called personal tutors. So every student has within their subject a personal tutor, and that person not only is interested in their study, but also in their sort of welfare. And that sort of could be sort of wrapped up in sort of pastoral care. So they're interested in anything that would affect the student and their time at Oxford. They may not be able to fix any issues that arise, but they'll certainly be able to point the student in the direction of the person who will be able to help. So the personal tutor is often the first point of contact, and students will also receive sort of information from their peers. So the students within the JCR or the Junior Common Room, which is the body of undergraduate students, they'll have peer supporters there. So we have welfare leads within the student population they're called welfare officers on the JCR committee. Those people will again point students in the right direction. There's sort of some informal support by the students' college families, and these college families are parents that are given to you in your first year. So these will be students who have entered their second year, they'll be married, and you will be their child. And so that's really rather nice because one of those parents is in their subject and another will be outside. And it means that you've also got siblings. And if you take this too far, you've got cousins and aunts and uncles. So there's a sort of a family system, and that those students meet up very early in Freshness week. So you get to know your college family very quickly. So that's sort of the tutors support and also the student support. And outside of that, we have a welfare dean. This is a tutor who has responsibility for welfare across the whole of the college. And the welfare dean looks after what's called the junior deans, who are here 24 hours a day. They are here during the night, and they can be called in at any time if a student needs to talk to somebody. So that's a fantastic resource. The junior deans are graduate students, and they live on site. And so any undergraduate that is upset by something can call the lodge will call the junior dean, and they'll go and look after them. So that's the sort of student and the welfare support. Within college, we also have a counsellor who comes for 1 day a week. We have a nurse who's here every day in term time. And we have a doctor who holds their practice for 2 afternoons a week within college. And then all of our students are associated with that doctor's practice. So that's the sort of internal welfare support system. And then the university, of course, has an external welfare support. If necessary, we can recommend students go and see the counselling service, which is outside of college, and they can go and see the disability service. And if a student has a disability, then the disability service will talk to our disability fellow in college, and we can arrange the required adjustments that are required to support that student's study. So that's quite a big answer, I'm afraid, to quite an important but small question.
Yeah, yeah. So do students register with a doctor when they arrive as a fresher, or are they allowed to
We
do?
would encourage that. So as part of the induction programme in Freshers Week first year, we invite the nurse and the doctor to come along to an induction session. This was all slightly awkward last year, but we hope to be in person again next year. And we tell our students about these facilities, and we would encourage our first year, any undergraduate student or even graduate student to register with the practice that's associated with college, because it means you can get immediate help from that doctor's practice. And if a student was to miss an exam or needed an extension on a piece of work that needed to be submitted by a certain deadline, then the doctors can be consulted and they will provide the appropriate doctor's note to support the students' requirements in terms of their sort of study extensions.
Right, okay. I actually have a question from someone who says, what makes a student at St Hildas special?
All of our students are special to us. I think the students at St Hildas really enjoy the college. It's a very supportive college. And I think that means that the students themselves are happier and more relaxed here, and they themselves support each other. So I think the students are special because they care about each other and they look after each other. And I think a lot of this is embedded in those college families from the very beginning of the first year students' experience. They meet their family, they're embedded in that family, and that creates a support network, and they themselves then become the support network for students the next year. So I think there's a real special type of student here, and they really enjoy it.
So talking about the type of student that we have, is St Hilda's looking for a particular person or a particular background of incoming students at all?
I don't think we specifically look for the background of a student. We want able students from any background, and we have probably a very diverse range of students because of that, because we're not targeting particular types of schools or any particular characteristic. We're just welcoming to all students, regardless of their background, as long as they're interested and keen to do the courses that the university and the college offers. It means that we have a fairly diverse background to our students. We have one of the largest proportions probably of non-UK students. About a quarter of our undergraduate population aren't from the UK. That means that they could come from Europe or from further afield. And therefore we have a very multicultural group of students. I think because there is no particular group that dominates, it means that everybody is exposed to different types of people. And we think that's really actually healthy. It's because you get to know and you get to used to working alongside people from different backgrounds and different countries with different interests. And you go out into the wider world sort of slightly more able to cope with differences in the people that you work with.
Oh, and someone's asked, what methods of transport do students usually use to get to departments that are further away?
Well, I think there's a great deal of students that cycle. We know this because you see thousands of bicycles. We have a lot of bicycle parking in college, and it's that 10 minutes before the hour. So if you're walking across, we're the other side of the high street from Magdalen Bridge. So our students walk across Magdalen Bridge, or you cycle across Magdalen Bridge, and there's lots of people rushed in towards the departments and faculties at 10 minutes to the hour. And so I think there's about 10 minutes because people clearly give themselves 10 minutes to get places. I think the furthest away might be the Maths Institute. And I cycle there and it probably takes me a quarter of an hour, and that's coming from me. So if you're younger and fitter and stronger, it probably doesn't take 15 minutes. But yes, so about 15 minutes by bike to the furthest possible department.
And someone said, how would you describe St Hildas in 3 words?
Oh, heavens. Oh, oh heavens! I wish I'd thought about this beforehand. Well, you can see from the background behind you, Emma, the site. We are open, we're welcoming, and we enable our students.
Great. Talking about students and enabling them and helping them. What would happen if a student maybe is falling slightly behind in their work or is falling quite significantly behind in their work? What's in place at St Hilda's to help them and sort of encourage them to keep going and to help sort of get them back on track again?
Well, I think the tutors are always the first people that notice. Because of the tutorial system, we see our students very frequently, if not more than once a week, and the tutors will talk to each other and say, are they concerned about so-and-so because they don't seem to be able to get the work in on time or it's not quite finished. And so they'll talk amongst themselves and then maybe talk to the student and just see if there's anything they can do to help. And it may be an academic problem, they just don't understand something, and then they'll provide additional tuition. It might be that they're finding that there's a distraction out there somewhere, someone's playing, perhaps they've turned up in Freshers Week, they've signed up to 5 or 6 different societies, and they're finding the time difficult to manage. And the tutors will advise the student how to manage their time better. Or it could be that there's a welfare reason. I mean, we've talked a little bit about welfare. There's an array of people who a student might be told to go to talk to or recommended going to talk to try and solve any kind of welfare problems there might be. I mean, it might be a financial problem that's causing them stress. And of course, then we have the bursar, who oversees the finances of the college and is the hardship officer. And he can step in and help students if that's what the problem is that they're struggling with. So sometimes it exhibits as an academic problem. And then when you look at it, actually almost all academic problems have got a welfare problem sitting behind them. And our tutors are very attuned to trying to find out what that is and finding a solution for it.
Okay, great.
I mean, in the worst case scenario, if the student is very unwell or has a significant personal situation that's causing them distress such that they can't carry on with their studies, it is possible to stop the clock on your degree and take a year out to recover, and then students can come back and finish their degree successfully. But that's a very unusual situation, and only one that we encourage students to take when necessary.
Right. Okay. So someone's asked, are there any particular qualities you look for in a student during the interview process?
Well, that's tricky because, of course, different subjects are looking for different types of students and different interests. But I think if you talk to, when we talk to tutors and the tutors that do the interviews, they're always looking for a sort of a common factor, which is, I suppose, there's a passion and an interest and a motivation to study the subject. But actually, what they need to see somebody who's got flexibility, critical thinking, the ability to take on new ideas, to problem solve. These will be slightly different in the different range of subjects. So, a historian will look for critical thinking. You might give them a passage of information, and you're looking to see what they understand that means, and maybe put it in a different context, in a different era, and how it would be important elsewhere. Whereas a mathematician will be looking for very good math skills and problem solving. And you'll want to see how a person thinks. And you've got to have someone who can work their way through problems, somebody who's creative, in a sense. Even in maths, you've got to have creative thinking.
Someone else has asked, what are St Hilda's Freshers Week activities like?
Well, they're a mixture. So they're a mixture of the sort of formal academic stuff that is organised by the college, which is about meeting the right people, doing the right things. And so we introduce you to the relevant people in college who you might then need at some point in your degree. You'll have meetings with your tutors, and they will tell you what the term is going to be like. And then the JCR, or the Junior Common Room Committee, who organise their activities around Freshness Week, will organise more social events and perhaps some sort of good citizenship type training, so that students can start their time at St Hildas kind of knowing how things are. But there's a lot of social events, but they don't have to, one doesn't have to go to all of the club nights. And there, of course, there's opportunities for people who don't want to just go clubbing and drinking. There'll either be video nights and games nights that are sort of a little bit more low key and relaxed. And then, of course, that sits against the backdrop of the university events. So the Student Union, Oxford Student Union, will run events to introduce people to clubs and societies outside of college. And the departments and faculties may also run events to induct the students into the specific subjects. It's full on, this Freshers Week.
Yes.
Busy time, and it's quite overwhelming, and we don't really expect you to remember everything. And that's why we actually will put all of our information online as well.
So Charlotte has asked, well, good morning, Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Is a student less likely to get into St Hildas if there's lots of other applicants for the same course, or does the number of applicants for the course we apply for not make a difference?
It probably feels like it makes a difference, but actually we look at people individually. And so there may be 10 or 30 other people that are interested in a very specific course, but we always want to take the best person for that course. And if you're the best person, it doesn't matter if there's 30 people or 400. It makes little difference because it's about your chance of getting in. It's how good you are and how motivated you are and how appropriate the course here is for you. So I don't think worrying about numbers will actually give you much benefit. I think you decide where you want to go, you decide which course you want to do, and you put your best foot forward. Don't worry about the numbers, because you don't know who those people are, and they may not be as good as you.
We have another question from Suneva. So good morning, Suneva.
Good morning.
They say, I can see the lovely trees behind you, but could you please describe the green/outdoor areas or in or around St Hildas College? Thank you.
So Emma's got a video sort of still behind her. What you can see is South Building, which is the main administrative building of the college. It's Victorian. Behind South Building are three blocks of student accommodation, two of which are first years and one is a finest building, which has got ensuite bathrooms. There's also a big music facility behind there. We do a lot of modern music. We have live streaming facilities. We have recording studios. We've got the best piano in Oxfordshire. We go along the river, and what you can't see is what's in front of Emma. And what's in front of Emma is a beautiful pavilion where we have parties on the riverside. We've got another big block of accommodation, which has, again, ensuite rooms for finalist students. And behind that, still stretching along the river, is Hall Building, which has the library, the JCR, which is the social space for the Junior Common Room or the Undergraduate student body, and a block of student accommodation and tutors' rooms. It's the most beautiful site. We stretch along the river by 4 acres. And on the other side of the river, you can see our punts. So Emma's sat in front of our punts. Our students can punt around the river for free. On the other side of the river is an island, which we look at, which is beautiful because it means that we're not overlooked. We don't have roads running around us. We don't have tourists. We don't have traffic. We have this field opposite, which is actually an island. You can punt all the way around it, and then the other side of that is the town centre. So if you can go across the bridge, be in the town centre within about 5 minutes, and it's the most beautiful site. But what we don't have is quads. We are allowed to walk on our grass, and we don't have the dark buildings in the centre of town.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of space in St Hildas, isn't there, Sarah? There's lots of
Yeah.
green, open spaces, and it doesn't feel very.
It's not closed in.
No,
No,
no, it's
it's
very
not.
open.
And then you kind of decompress. So when you come from town, you come over the river and walk into St Hildas, you kind of feel your heart rate go down. It's a very relaxed site. And I think that actually is part of why our students are much more relaxed and happier. There's a really lovely video that Emma has done. This is for the audience. Emma's done a fantastic video, a walk-in video around St Hildas that's up on this site and also will be linked on our website. And it absolutely shows the beauty of the site and the space that we have. And inside the bedrooms as well. It shows you inside the first year rooms.
Well, talking about first year rooms and student accommodation, I know we talked a bit about it yesterday, but I thought I'd just quickly ask, because it's quite a frequent question, do students have to share a bedroom?
No, I think this is I don't know where these thoughts come from. Maybe it's from boarding school or something. But all our rooms are single rooms, single study bedrooms. Some of the finalist rooms are en suite, and we have a quad that's just down the road from St Hildas. It's a 5-minute walk opposite. It's actually sat opposite the University Sports Centre. That has the most brilliant sort of flat setup where you might have 5 study bedrooms, share one big kitchen, but they're all en suite. And actually, some of those rooms are queen-size beds. They're really very nice. Once the student's been there, they very rarely want to come back on site. They kind of like living off site. And those rooms are available to finalists on 40-week leases, which means they can stay over the vacations as well, which is really convenient. But no, students don't share bedrooms. They sometimes share facilities, but it tends to be a small number of people that share. It's not, a big staircase of 20 or so rooms. It's often 5 to 8 people. And they may be sharing facilities, but of course there's not just one facility. So if you're sharing bathrooms, you might find there's a block of 5 showers.
So with coming to St Hildas, and I think a lot of people are very worried about food and what they can eat and dietary requirements. So I just wanted to talk to you a bit about basically what food is on offer at St Hildas, and are dietary requirements, are they catered for here?
I think so. I think most dietary requirements, certainly what we need is just to know what students' dietary requirements are. And I believe we do ask people before they arrive if they have specific dietary requirements, because then we can feed that information through to our incredible head chef and the kitchens, and they can make sure that they are taking that person's requirements into consideration. We are a small community and we all know each other, so there is an element of you're not lost in a crowd. So if there are particular dietary requirements we need to cater for, we will do our best to do that. The standard catering is a meat, vegetarian and vegan option for every meal. There is a lovely buffet basically for breakfast, lunch and dinner under normal occasions. It's been a bit odd recently, but under normal occasions, students get to choose what they want to eat. There's a board that has a list of all the allergens on it, so if people have got specific concerns about types of allergens, they can avoid them. And I understand if students are interested in halal food, then that's something they can discuss with the catering manager, and that will be provided for them one way or another.
And is there a much variety in the types of food that's available, or is it quite similar, the type of food that is on offer?
I think they do a really good job in the kitchens on providing really interesting and tasty looking food. I eat here every day, and I really love the fact that they cook for me, and I love what they offer me. I think it's really nice. I mean, there are occasions where they do special events. They often, in good weather, they might do barbecues. They used to set up the barbecues on that grassy area behind you. And that's always gone down incredibly well. Pizza nights, I mean, they might do themed nights, or they might just do sort of a different menu every day. But the menus are published. Students can pick which days they come in to dine. And if they don't wish to dine in college, which is extremely good value actually, we subsidise the kitchens enormously. Then there's catering facilities in all of the blocks of accommodation. So and students manage their shared kitchens really well.
Sarah, what's your favourite lunch or meal that you've had that you remember recently?
Oh goodness, what did we have? Actually, I had a really nice. What do I like? I had a really nice meal yesterday. This is what I remember because it was the most recent. But I had fantastic mushroom stroganoff, and I was feeling cold. It was actually quite a nice day, but it was just beautiful. It was the sort of food you'd expect to be offered in a restaurant. And this was done as a takeaway service by the kitchens because there are so few people in at the moment. But that's the sort of food that would be offered. I love it when they do quiches. But there's just so much variety. I'm just happy every day. There's always something really nice to have.
Yeah, there's a lot of choice. Yeah.
Mm.
And how has St Hilda's coped with, food and the pandemic and, with people isolating? How has that worked and how has that been
They,
managed?
I must say, I was really impressed. So we went into complete lockdown for a term after Easter last year, and although we essentially stopped functioning on site, we kept some students. The international students that were unable to go home, some of the students that had welfare reasons that prevented them from going home. We kept them on site. We had about 40 people through the complete lockdown. They had their own kitchens available at that time. When we opened up the kitchens in the summer, before term started, the catering manager and the head chef had worked out a way of delivering food under any circumstances. So they ran a Deliveroo system. So any student that was in isolation, living off-site or on-site, was able to order food off the college's website, and the catering manager ran around the city delivering food to isolated students. Then it became a pickup service when we weren't able to all sit down together. And then when we were allowed to sit together, we had screens, and now we're allowed to sit 6 people around a table, and that's what we can do. We were asking the students to eat in their households at one point, but now you're allowed to mix at the table, and that's worked incredibly well. So we've actually been able to provide food through the most sort of difficult period of self-isolation. And at the moment, of course, most of the students have gone home, but we still have some international students living with us over this vacation because they're unable to return.
Great. Well, Sarah, I think we've got about 30 seconds or so left. And I just wanted to ask if you had any final comments or things that I haven't brought up that you'd like to mention at all, or
I think what's lovely about St Hildas is that it's a hidden gem. People don't. There isn't a busy site. We don't have loads of tourists. We're very relaxed, and that culture and that the community is very strong. But because we're a hidden gem, not many people know about us. And I hope that people have the opportunity to see these videos and understand what we can offer the students, because it's quite different to what is on offer elsewhere.
definitely. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time out today to speak to me and answer all these questions. I hope that's helped you at home. But if you do have any further questions today or in the future, you can always contact us. All of our information is on the St Hilda's website, or today, if you would like to contact us, you can contact us on Slido and we'll be happy to answer those questions. We do also have another live stream session later on today at 2 o'clock, and that will be with our students. So if you have any student specific questions, please do come along and give them a good old grilling, and I'm sure we'll be able to answer all your questions then. But otherwise, thank you so much, and I hope you have a really lovely rest of your day.
Goodbye, everyone, and thank you very much, Emma. Bye bye.